Welcome to the Kpack and Flux combined disaster recovery demo. Let's start our Kubernetes cluster with kubeadm. I'm your host, Kingdon, Flux maintainer. Today we're going to see Kpack building images and Flux deploying them in a somewhat semi-obvious configuration if you know both Kpack and Flux. Hopefully this demo is helpful if you don't, or if you do. I'm going to join our second node to the cluster. There's a little bit of voodoo magic we need to do here. Pay no attention to this part. If we don't update these resources so that they export metrics in the way that Prometheus expects, we will have some strange errors later. Let's install Cilium for CNI. There. And once we've updated these values, we're going to give our control plane a quick restart so that it picks up all the changes. This will only take a second longer than we can get on with the rest of the demo. We're going to need a few terminals for this. And SSH GitHub token for Flux. Got some example apps. We have instrumented this Planet Store here with Flux's image update automation feature. So when we see a new build produce an image, it's just going to deploy it right away. It'll commit it into Git, into manifest, and then it'll be deployed from there. Okay, so our cluster is about ready. So let's put Flux on it and all that stuff. Like I said, the Flux Bootstrap requires a personal access token for a couple of reasons. It's going to write a few commits to the repository, and then it's going to set up a read-only deploy key so that Flux can pull from a public or private Git repository over SSH. Here's Slack, so we can see monitoring notifications when they are all set up to come in from Flux's notification controller and from Prometheus if anything should go wrong. Alert manager. Flux is ready now, and it is loading all of our workloads onto the cluster according to dependency order. Pretty cool. So we didn't copy any kube config out. That's why we have to SSH into this control plane, so K9s won't work. That we'll only need to do that for a little while longer. Then we can come back and access the cluster through kubeoidc proxy when it's ready. So we aren't going to copy any kube configs outside of the control plane node. So since Flux is healthy, let's watch it deploy all of our stuff, including secrets, traffic, some other ingress classes, kube Prometheus stack for monitoring, chart museum, some namespaces. We've got a few Helm releases for our vendor software. Goes into the namespaces. This harmless little error will resolve itself in just a moment. We got Harbor, image registry. Yes. Also Argo CD as well, because why not? Keycloak, QBOIDC proxy will help us get into the cluster from outside, as I said before, safely. Both depend on ingress. That Argo CD there is using the Flux subsystem for Argo, Flamingo, if you prefer, whichever you like to call it. We're going to use Harbor to make our builds fast and cheap in terms of bandwidth usage, so there are no external third-party dependencies outside of the house. And then the next things, depending on Harbor, can start as soon as it's ready. And our ingress and keycloak, QBOIDC, proxy, those guys are all ready now, so we can abandon those SSH sessions. Don't need SSH anymore. Hooray! Disaster recovery is well underway. And blog is back online. Hooray! And Flux can do the rest of the owl. Got all these notifications we missed while things were coming online. Here we started with traffic, Prometheus, traffic CRDs, ingress stuff. So we can see that all happened, and that all went well. And we've got Hefty workflow, Deus workflow, beta release. We'll be pushing out a new release of that soon. Okay. Now we're going to look for some Kpack CRD resources and one Flux resource. Just a second. Alright, so first we're going to look for image repository and builder and builds and images. Oh my. Here they are. See that we have 2 images from a previous trial of this machinery, Harbor, so I know that all these components are working. And will be working soon. Image is reconciling, and it has this unknown status for now. Waits for builder to create the first build base. Here's our builder. Now the builder is ready, and here is the rest of the owl. The Flux automations selected this image from a couple hours ago already in the manifest, so image update automation, when it ran, just basically did a no-op. Builder is running now, build to produce an image tag for Flux to deploy, and this is what I wanted to show here. It's a private repo we built from. It took me some time to figure this out. Some time indeed. Let's look at our builder definition and take a peek at all this infrastructure. It's part of our stack, cluster stack and cluster store, with both the basis of image and builder within Kpack itself and the CRDs in it. And while we're talking, our build over there is finished and image got pushed. Now Flux hasn't seen it yet. So if you want to make this even faster, image repository can accept events from the Harbor webhook via receiver. But we're not doing that today. This will be fast enough already. Okay, so our running app is a few seconds older than our build, so it hasn't deployed the update yet. Let's watch the notifications. There it is. Now the tag's been observed, and Flux pushed a new commit with some read-write deploy key that we prepared ahead of time. And the deployment is already live. At this point, the demo is basically over. Only 10 minutes have passed since our cluster is first ready. Here's our build. Succeeded. Pushed. Deployed. And we can have a look at the service account and all the credentials that it required to get us to this point. Again, this is only 10 minutes. Full disaster recovery, including builder and automation to deploy new builds. So let's have a look at those other resources for Kpack. We've got a image definition pointed at the production branch. Got our service account. Got some secrets in it. Image pusher. Git reader, I think, as well, for a private repo. I kind of considered the builder itself as Kpack in order to keep things a little bit easy. So these things in here are kind of a little bit messy because all these apps were sort of placed outside of an environment. Here's my environment for staging. We could move all these apps in here with the rest of the apps. This is sort of a trick for dependency ordering. Makes dependency ordering a little bit easier while I'm working things out. I have some issues with keep it simple ideology, but hopefully this is still kind of easy to follow. So that was a different app there with some more involved dependency requirements. And here's our store app where the Flux automation does its thing today. The Git repository with its read-write access and secret ref there. Here, let's pull that commit. This is what our automation just did 3 minutes ago. Pushed this change when it observed a new image. Take a look at the image policy so we know how it decided to select that image in particular. So you got both a build number that's ignored and a timestamp. The timestamp is how we decide which is the newest image. Here's our image repository. Nothing special there. Image update automation. This is the big guy. There's our ingress. So we can see that the app is actually running. And here's the app, where something has gone wrong, but it runs. Thanks for watching.